Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, you are welcome in this lecture. Today we are going to discuss phosphorus in soil and phosphatic fertilizer. Mainly we will concentrate on dynamics of phosphorus in soil, what are the forms of phosphorus in soil, how fixation of phosphorus occurs, and what are different fertilizers of phosphorus. So overall learning objective will be to learn the status, forms and availability of phosphorus in soil, to describe the classification, composition, manufacture and properties of phosphatic fertilizers. So let us see some terminology. Inositol phosphate. It is a cyclic molecule with 6 hydroxyl groups, forms the hydrophobic head group of membrane inositol phospholipids. Inositol phosphates are intracellular second messengers in eukaryotic cells. So this inositol phosphate is very important compound and organic phosphorus is present in this. Orthophosphoric acid, it is obtained by reacting phosphorus pentoxide with water or by reacting rock phosphate with concentrated sulfuric acid. Partially acidulated phosphate rock, igneous phosphate rocks sometimes require addition of a more soluble phosphate form. A partial acidulation can be resorted to for rendering its phosphorus more available in plants. Phosphate rock. Phosphate rock is a source of phosphorus, its most naturally occurring raw material being apatite, starting material for all phosphatic fertilizer. Most of the phosphatic fertilizers are made from phosphate rock, or it is also called as rock phosphate. You can call it in either way. Phosphate fixation. The process of soluble ion H2PO4 rapidly reacting in soil to form insoluble phosphate is called phosphate fixation. We will deal this subject in detail, how phosphorus gets fixed in different kind of soils. Phosphate potential. It is the chemical potential of soil that indicates the availability of phosphorus in the soil. Phosphogypsum. It is a calcium sulfate dehydrate, a byproduct in the manufacture of phosphoric acid by the wet process. It is high grade gypsum containing 90 to 95% calcium sulfate dehydrate. Next is phosphocompost. Compost is a mixture of decaying organic matter such as vegetation and manure. When some composts are enriched with phosphatic minerals or fertilizers, they become phosphocompost, means kind of compost where we have added mineral phosphorus. Phosphoric acid, also known as orthophosphoric acid H3PO4, is the most significant source of phosphatic fertilizers. Ammonium phosphate, diammonium phosphate and monoammonium phosphate. They are manufactured by using phosphoric acid. Phosphorus cycle is the cycling of phosphorus between biotic and abiotic components of the environment, and it is called as phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus pentoxide. Phosphorus anhydride P2O5 is a white, highly deliquescent solid that sublimes at 300 degrees centigrade and reacts violently with water to give orthophosphoric acid. In most of the phosphatic fertilizers, phosphorus content is reported as P2O5. However, many scientists and people are pressing the fertilizer manufacturer to write in P form, but they are still writing P2O5. Similarly, for potassic fertilizer, they are still adamant and they are still writing K2O. However, it is good to write K. Phospholipids, these are esters of glycerol and are similar in structure to fats. However, unlike, they contain only 2 fatty acids. Now see the dynamics of phosphorus in soil. So total phosphorus in soils is generally less than total nitrogen or potassium. Means you have more levels of nitrogen, more levels of potassium, but phosphorus levels are less than nitrogen and potassium. About 1/10 to 1/4 of nitrogen and 1/12 of potassium. So you can imagine it is in very less quantities compared to other major nutrients N and K. Total P in surface soils is few milligram to 1 gram per kg. Levels are very low. Unlike nitrogen, phosphorus in subsoil may be less than, equal or greater than surface soil. Most of the time nitrogen is more in surface. As you go deep, nitrogen levels decreases, but in case of phosphorus, they can increase level of phosphorus with the depth. Total phosphorus in soil is constituted by organic phosphorus plus inorganic phosphorus. Means broadly speaking, there are two forms of phosphorus in soil, that is organic phosphorus and inorganic phosphorus. Inorganic phosphorus is also called as your mineral phosphorus. You will come across one more term, that is occluded P. So let us try to understand what is occluded P. If iron or aluminum hydroxides are precipitated on the surface of iron and aluminum phosphates, the phosphate becomes occluded secondary inorganic phosphate, and availability of phosphorus from this source is very slow. See this phosphorus transformation in soil, how phosphorus forms changes in soil. So just you try to understand this figure. You start with the solution phosphorus, which is in the center. Now move left where you get labile organic P. So labile organic P and solution P are in equilibrium. If there is uptake of phosphorus from the soil solution, then labile organic P will compensate for the loss in soil solution. Then this labile organic P is coming from stable humus phosphorus. It is there and it is in equilibrium state again. So whenever labile organic P deficit is there, it will be compensated by stable humus P. And this stable humus P may come from decomposition of organic material by the living organisms. And living organisms after decomposition also give out humus and phosphorus. And this living organism can also contribute towards the labile organic P contribution. See on the right side of solution P, it can be labile adsorbed P. Part of the phosphorus is adsorbed on colloids and it is in equilibrium with insoluble P compounds and the solution P. And labile adsorbed phosphorus can become occluded P. It can be precipitated and this occluded P can give to insoluble P compounds and they are in equilibrium. So this hope you understand this transformation of phosphorus in soils. Now see phosphorus forms. Another form is inorganic phosphorus, which is also called as mineral phosphorus. So compound of calcium dominate in alkaline soil. So fixation of phosphorus in alkali condition or alkaline condition happens as calcium phosphate, tricalcium phosphate. And compounds of iron and aluminum phosphate dominate in acid soils. So therefore in acid soils, fixation of phosphorus happens with iron and aluminum. The ionic forms of organic phosphorus depends upon the pH of the soil. For example, pH is very high, then it will be phosphate, and phosphate is very less available to the plants. PO4 3-. Then if pH is lowered from 8 to 10, so HPO4 forms dominate, HPO4 2-. And if pH is roughly neutral from 6.5 to 7.5, then both the forms are in equal proportion, this HPO4 and H2PO4. If pH is still decreased from it becomes 4 to 6, then you will have H2PO4. This is the form which is preferred by plants. If H2PO4 is available, plant will take this form. If suppose there is no availability of H2PO4, then plants will prefer HPO4. Even if HPO4 is not there, in extreme cases plant will take up phosphate. And if pH is less than 3, then H3PO3 is there, orthophosphoric acid will be there, which cannot be taken up by plants. Now see organic phosphorus. Organic phosphorus is found in plant residues, manures and microbial tissues. So most of the organic P is confined to the organic matter. Soils low in organic matter may contain only 3% of their total phosphorus in the organic form, but high organic matter soils may contain up to 50% or more of their total phosphorus content in the organic form. Organic phosphorus may be few milligram to 0.5 gram per kg of the soil, and the range may be 20 to 80% of total P, average being 50%. Now see different forms of organic phosphorus in soil. So first column it is form, second column the contents in soil milligram per kg, and percentage of organic P. What percentage of organic P is there in this particular organic P constituent? So first is inositol phosphate, the most important organic phosphorus compound, and in soil it may be a very big range, 1.4 milligram to 560 milligram per kg of soil it can be there, and if we convert in percentage of total organic P, then it is 0.3 to 62%. Next important constituent is nucleic acid. They also contain phosphorus, and it may be 0.1 milligram to 97 milligram, and for percentage it is 0.1 to 65% of the total organic P. The third important form is phospholipids. They may be 0.4 to 17 milligram per kg of soil, and it can be 0.03 to 5.4. So you can see they are varying with the kind of soil, climate conditions. Number of factors will influence the organic P content in the soil. But overall it can be said that inositol phosphate, nucleic acid and phospholipids are the major sources of organic phosphorus in the soil. Now see how the mineralization of organic phosphorus in soils happen. It is same as in case of sulfur mineralization or nitrogen mineralization from organic matter. So you can see organic phosphorus forms are attacked by the microbes, and these microbes can convert organic phosphorus to H2PO4, which is inorganic phosphorus, and the process is known as mineralization, and it can go back to the organic form also. Sometimes inorganic phosphorus can be converted to organic forms, which is known as immobilization. And third thing you here see is fixation also. This water soluble phosphate, which is H2PO4, can be converted into aluminum, iron or calcium phosphate depending upon the pH in the presence of iron, aluminum and calcium ion in two different kind of soils. One may be acidic pH setting, other may be alkaline pH setting. So this is how fixation of phosphorus is happening. Now see what are the factors that affect the organic phosphorus content in soil. So number one is climate. Generally speaking, if your decomposition rate is slow, temperatures are lower, but organic matter addition is more. Under those conditions, you will have higher levels of organic P. Similarly, if you have very profuse and vigorous vegetation, we can expect more addition of organic matter. Then you will have higher levels of organic P compared to dryland areas where you do not have sufficient vegetation. Soil texture, generally speaking, light texture soils will have less level of phosphorus because of leaching issues, and generally speaking sandy soils or light texture soils are lower in organic matter. So therefore organic P levels will be lower in light texture soil compared to the heavy texture soils. Land use pattern also determines if farmers are taking very serial rotations, then extraction of phosphorus will be more compared to the legume rotations. Similarly, fertilizer practices also affects. If there is not adequate P fertilization, then we will have less organic phosphorus. If there is adequate P fertilization by inorganic sources, the organic phosphorus levels are expected to increase. And drainage practices, if there is excess water frequently in the field, it will encourage leaching of inorganic phosphorus, and then breakdown of organic phosphorus will be more. Therefore, levels of organic phosphorus will decline. So these irrigation practices or drainage practices, agronomic practices also affect the organic phosphorus levels in the soil. Now see classification of phosphorus compound in in soils. There are three important groups of phosphorus compounds, and you please see it carefully. If we start from solution phosphorus, phosphorus in soil solution, it is readily available P, quickly available P, and ions are HPO4 minus 2 and H2PO4 minus 1. So these are released from other forms or added in fertilizers or manures. So they can come from mineralization of organic P, they can come from fertilizers from outside or manures added from outside. They can directly supply phosphorus to the soil solution, which is H2PO4 or HPO4. Then what happens, it is not forever that it will remain in these forms, available forms. It gets quickly converted to other forms also. So then it becomes slowly available phosphorus, which is also called as labile phosphorus. So iron, aluminum and manganese phosphates are formed in acid soils, and calcium magnesium phosphates are formed in alkaline soils. So therefore its availability decreases. So freshly precipitated or held in on surface of fine soil particles, and this is in equilibrium with soil solution phosphorus. The third category is non-labile, which is almost unavailable. So very slowly available phosphorus and precipitates of iron, aluminum, manganese and phosphates and aged and well crystalline penetrate soil particles stable. So however, it is still in equilibrium with the labile phosphorus. So whenever there is shortage of phosphorus in soil solution, it will come from slowly available P, and that can be compensated by very slow available phosphorus. So all the three forms are in equilibrium. Now see the phosphorus cycle in the plant soil system. So again you can start from soil solution. This soil solution phosphorus can go to the crop uptake, removed by the crop, and ultimately it is removed in the harvested produce. So actually we are losing phosphorus from soil to plant. And then water nutrients in manures and fertilizers are the source, but water soluble nutrients, certain fertilizers have water soluble phosphorus, they can supply directly this solution phosphorus. And this solution phosphorus can be leached down also because ions are negatively charged, H2PO4 minus 1, HPO4 minus 2. Therefore, they are susceptible for leaching, and leaching happens. Then solution phosphorus comes from readily available pool, and they are in equilibrium, and then less readily available pool, then very slowly available pool. Now see the depletion and replenishment of available phosphorus level in soil, and it should be remembered that the amount of available phosphorus in the soil at any one time is relatively very small, especially when compared to the amounts of calcium, magnesium and potassium. So let us start from the center. Available soil phosphorus is in the soil solution, and it can come from soil organic matter, it can come from crop residues or organic manures added. It can come from commercial fertilizers like monoammonium phosphate, diammonium phosphate, single superphosphate. There are many more sources that we will discuss today, and it can also come, it means available soil phosphorus or phosphorus present in soil solution can come from phosphorus bearing minerals, and this available phosphorus can go for fixation also, and this fixed phosphorus can convert into phosphorus bearing minerals also, like apatite. Apatite is the last mineral that can be formed under alkaline conditions when calcium is fixed with phosphorus. And there could be number of losses of phosphorus from the soil, and crop removal, leaching and erosion. So here students should remember that phosphorus is mostly lost by erosion and then by leaching. There are no other routes of phosphorus losses from the soil. Therefore, in many areas of the country where farmers are continuously using diammonium phosphate as a fertilizer source, so there is a lot of accumulated phosphorus in the soil, and residual effect of this phosphorus is experienced. Now see phosphorus movement in soil. So among many elements or nutrient elements, particularly nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, potassium, this phosphorus is very lazy element. It does not like to move much Wherever you keep it, it will try to remain there. So, soluble phosphorus either from fertilizer or natural weathering reacts with clay, iron and aluminum compounds in the soil and is converted readily to less available forms by the process of phosphorus fixation. Because of these fixation processes, phosphorus moves very little in soils. That is why I called it as a lazy element, less than an inch in most soils. However, nitrogen can travel 2 inches, 3 inches. So, as a result, little soil phosphorus is lost by leaching. This fixed residual phosphorus remains in the rooting zone and will be slowly available to the succeeding crops. Crops seldom absorb more than 20% of the fertilizer phosphorus during the first cropping season after application. That means the phosphorus use efficiency of phosphatic fertilizers or other sources is very less. It is roughly 20%. That means 80 units are not used. Those 80 units or 80% will be used by the succeeding crop, and that may not use the whole amount. So, that is why phosphorus recommendations should be based upon cropping systems. Soil erosion and crop removal are the significant ways soil phosphorus is lost. It stays close to its place of origin, very little movement. Nearly all phosphorus in soil moves by diffusion. Diffusion depends on soil moisture. If there is deficit of soil moisture, diffusion will not occur and plants will suffer from phosphorus deficiency. Now, see this picture and relative nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium movement in soil. So, nitrogen has maximum movement. You can see relative distance traveled by nitrogen, and then comes your potassium, and then comes your calcium, and phosphorus is the fourth one. So, phosphorus moves very little. So, that is why it is recommended that phosphorus should be placed near the rooting zone, so that roots can easily access phosphorus. Sometimes farmers they apply DAP in the standing crop as top dressing material, which is very wrong practice. Phosphorus should be most of the time applied at the time of sowing and near to the seed as far as possible. Soil phosphorus. Since the roots of growing crop contact only 1 to 3% of the surface 15 to 20 centimeter, hence soil must be adequately supplied with phosphorus to support optimum growth. The soil phosphorus level throughout the root zone should be high enough to ensure adequate available phosphorus. Adequate available phosphorus should be available at every growth stage of the plants. It has been observed throughout the studies that the phosphorus uptake also follows almost quadratic pattern or sigmoid curve. Initially uptake is slow and then increases at a very fast rate, and then the increase slows down, but it can be absorbed up to maturity. Adequate available phosphorus should be available at every growth stage of the plant. Now, let us see what are the factors that affect the availability of phosphorus. And other way around also, students can call it factors affecting fixation of phosphorus. So, answer to both the question is same, whether we talk about availability of phosphorus or we talk about fixation of phosphorus. Means if we have very high fixation, that means availability will be low. If fixation is low, then availability will be more. So, factors are soil phosphorus, soil pH, amount and type of clay, clay materials, time and source of application of phosphorus, soil aeration and compaction, soil moisture and temperature, phosphorus status of soil, type of crop, other nutrients. Phosphorus interacts with many other nutrients, somewhere antagonistically and somewhere synergistically. Amount and decomposition of soil organic matter and activity of soil microbes. Microbes are also important in availability of the phosphorus. So, let us discuss all these factors. We start with soil pH. It is the most important factor that affect the availability and fixation of phosphorus. So, you can see if pH is 7 to 9, then tricalcium phosphate, it is fixed form and it is unavailable form. If pH is 5.5 to 7, mono and dicalcium phosphates are there, and in this pH range there is maximum availability and also least fixation. If you increase pH above 7.5 or below 6.5, then fixation starts. So pH is if 5.5, then iron aluminum phosphate will fix the phosphorus and it will become unavailable to the plants. The ionic forms of inorganic phosphorus depend on the soil pH. If pH is more than 10, phosphate, HPO4 pH 8 to 10 and HPO4 H2PO4, you have almost equal quantities of ions. Now see fixation, how the phosphorus fixation is affected by pH. Inorganic fixation of added phosphate in the form of fertilizer at various soil pH values. Average conditions are represented and any particular soil would have a somewhat different distribution. So on x-axis you see it is soil pH increasing starting from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 something like that, and then distribution, relative distribution 50%, 100%. Now you see fixation when pH is low, chemical fixation by soluble iron, aluminum and manganese. It is somewhere up to 5 or 5.5 pH. It is mostly chemical fixation by soluble iron, aluminum and manganese. And then comes your reaction fixation by hydrous oxide of iron, manganese and aluminum when pH is still 4.5 to 5.5, and as you increase the pH, fixation by hydrous oxide of aluminum, manganese and aluminum decreases. Now see if your pH is between 5 and 7, then it is relatively available phosphorus. And see the last case where your pH may be 8, here fixation mostly as calcium phosphate. So most of the phosphorus is fixed as calcium phosphate. This is quite interesting figure. Precipitation of phosphorus as slightly soluble calcium phosphates occurs in calcareous soils with pH values around 8. Under acid conditions, phosphorus is precipitated as aluminum or iron phosphate of low solubility. Maximum availability of phosphorus occurs at 6 to 7 pH. This is one of the beneficial effects of liming acid soil. Maintaining a soil pH in this range also favors the presence of H2PO4 ions, which are more readily absorbed by the plant than HPO4-2 ions, which occur at pH value above 7. Now next factor that affect the fixation of phosphorus is amount and type of clay material in the soil. So fine texture soils such as clay loam soils having a greater phosphorus fixation capacity than sandy coarse texture soils. Clays of 1:1 type kaolinite have a greater phosphorus fixing capacity than the 2:1 type of clays, which are montmorillonite, illite and vermiculite. So therefore fixation is more where the kaolinite clays dominate. Soils formed under high rainfall and high temperature contain large amount of kaolinitic clays and therefore have a much greater fixing capacity for phosphorus than soils containing the 2:1 type of clay. That means availability of phosphorus will be more when you have 2:1 type of clay compared to 1:1 type of clay, which is kaolinite. High temperature and high rainfall also increase the amount of iron and aluminum in soil, oxides in the soil, which contribute greatly to the fixation of phosphorus added to these soils. So therefore, high temperature and high rainfall will decrease the availability of phosphorus and increase the fixation. Next factor is time and source of phosphorus application. Fixation of soil phosphorus increases with time of contact between soluble phosphorus and the soil particles. Consequently, more efficient utilization of fertilizer phosphorus is generally obtained by applying the fertilizer shortly before planting the crop. Blending of fertilizer for row crops is also much more likely to increase the efficiency of fertilizer phosphorus on soils of high phosphorus fixing capacity than on soils of low phosphorus fixing capacity. If our soils are having high phosphorus fixation capacity, then it should be applied in bands. If we apply in bands and nearby the seed or beside the seed, then it will come in the least contact of the soil. because water soluble fertilizer quickly becomes insoluble. So therefore, it should be used in bands. And suppose if it is the case of rock phosphate, which is very slowly available, or in this case broadcast application is better for rock phosphate, because in that way it will come in the maximum contact or maximum volume of the soil. So method of application varies with the kind of fertilizer. The fixation of phosphorus from single superphosphate and readily available phosphorus fertilizer will be proportionately greater as compared to the rock phosphate and other slowly available fertilizer, because rock phosphate releases phosphorus very slowly. So there is no phosphorus available for fixation from rock phosphate. However, if you use water soluble phosphate, that is single superphosphate, most of the fertilizer or P is water soluble. Therefore, the fixation rates are very high for this fertilizer. So further, certain like soil temperature, aeration, moisture and compaction, all these parameters also affect the phosphorus availability in the soil. Phosphorus absorption by the plant is decreased by low soil temperature and poor soil aeration. Excessive soil moisture or soil compaction reduces the soil oxygen supply and decreases the ability of the plant roots to absorb soil phosphorus. Compaction reduces aeration and pore space in the root zone. This reduces phosphorus uptake and plant growth. Compaction means there is less supply of oxygen. Less supply of oxygen means less respiration by the roots. Therefore, root activities are inhibited and phosphorus uptake is the result of that. Compaction also decreases the soil volume that plant roots penetrate, limiting their total access to the soil phosphorus. So root has very good association with the uptake of nutrient. If root growth is restricted, then uptake of the nutrients. So increasing moisture to optimum levels make phosphorus more available to the plants. Now phosphorus status of the soil. Crop responses to fertilizer phosphorus will be greater and occur more frequently on soils testing low in phosphorus than on soils testing high in phosphorus. However, yields on soils with high P soil test levels usually are higher. The response to phosphorus fertilizer on high testing soil is increasing, and it is important to maintain high soil phosphorus levels to support optimum crop production. Other nutrients also affect phosphorus fixation or availability. Adequate supply of other plant nutrients tend to increase the absorption of phosphorus from the soil. Application of ammonium forms of nitrogen with phosphorus fertilizers increases phosphorus uptake from a fertilizer as compared to applying the phosphorus fertilizer alone. So this is part of the recommendation that it is better to apply phosphatic fertilizer along with ammonium or ammonium forming fertilizers. Calcium application on acidic soils increases phosphorus availability. Application of sulfur often increases the availability of soil phosphorus on neutral or basic soils where the soil phosphorus is present as calcium phosphate. So you want to increase the availability of phosphorus, but you are applying sulfur in case of neutral or alkaline soil, because this sulfur will be oxidized and it will form sulfate, and this sulfate will form sulfuric acid that will lower the pH. Once the pH is lowered, then the availability of phosphorus will increase, and this sulfuric acid will also break the insoluble phosphorus. Therefore, addition of sulfur will increase the availability of phosphorus in soil. Excessive zinc can affect phosphorus availability in alkaline soils. Now, there are certain crop factors also that affect the availability of phosphorus. Types of roots, whether they are tap or fibrous root system. Wheat has shallow root system, while lucerne, having deep root system, explores deep into the soil. Most plant species can be infected with WAM, now their name is AM fungi, to improve phosphorus uptake. Soil organic matter and microbes also affect phosphorus availability. Soils high in organic matter contain considerable amount of organic phosphorus, which are mineralized similar to organic nitrogen and provide available phosphorus for the plant growth. Generally, soils low in organic matter will have low phosphorus status. So see this how these microbes are important for solubilization or mineralization of phosphorus. So organic phosphorus is converted into inorganic forms in the presence of microbes. So anything which is affecting the growth of the microbes, whether it is oxygen, water or some other factors, will affect the release of phosphorus from the organic phosphorus. In addition to supplying phosphorus, organic matter also acts as a chelating agent, particularly humus produced from the organic matter, and combines with iron, thereby preventing the formation of insoluble iron phosphates. Heavy application of organic materials such as manure, plant residues or green manure crops to soils with high pH values not only supplies phosphorus but on decomposition provides acidic environment which increase the availability of mineral forms of phosphorus in the soil. Humus extracts from the soil increases the solubility of phosphorus by formation of phosphohumic complexes which are more easily assimilated by the plants. So therefore, it is preserving the phosphorus. More the humus, more is the phosphorus availability. Ion replacement of the phosphate by the humate ion. The coating of sesquioxide particles by humus to form a protective cover and thus reduce the phosphate fixing capacity of the soil. So finally, it will lead to the increased availability of phosphorus in the soil. Dear students, up to now you could understand different forms of phosphorus in soil, how the fixation happens in different pH settings, and what are the factors that affects the availability or fixation of phosphorus in soil. I hope you enjoyed that part. Now we start with the other part, that is phosphatic fertilizers, which are very important because we know phosphorus is the most expensive primary nutrient. Compared to nitrogen and potassium, phosphorus is very expensive. All phosphatic fertilizers are produced from phosphate rock. The only exception are polyphosphate produced from the elemental phosphorus. Phosphate rock reserves are there in many countries, particularly in Morocco, USSR, USA, South Africa, China, Australia. India also have some phosphate rock reserves, but they are in very small quantities. Phosphate rock basically consists of fluor, hydroxy, chlor and carbonate apatites. The quality of different apatites is different. Generally, fluor apatites are considered to be of better quality. And fluorapatite are also being the dominant forms. The apatites as such cannot be taken by plants because in apatite phosphorus is not there in the available form. Phosphate rock, which is apatite or octacalcium phosphate, can be reached with strong acid, can be reacted with strong acid like sulfuric acid, nitric acid or HCl to make it soluble. So there are chemical procedure or physical procedure to convert this phosphate rock into available form. Or heat and high pressure can be employed like temperature of more than 1400 degrees centigrade to disintegrate it. Phosphate rock contains 11 to 16% of phosphorus in P form and 25 to 37% phosphorus in P2O5, depending upon the kind of phosphate we have received. Now see how the phosphate fertilizers are divided. There are different types of phosphatic fertilizer based upon water solubility of phosphorus. So they are water soluble, citrate soluble and citrate insoluble phosphatic fertilizers. So some terminology related to phosphatic fertilizer. What is available P? The sum of the water soluble and citrate soluble phosphorus represent an estimate of the fraction available to the plants, and it is termed as available phosphorus. Means available phosphorus is equal to water soluble phosphorus in fertilizer plus citrate soluble phosphorus in fertilizer. Then total phosphorus, the sum of water soluble, citrate soluble and citrate insoluble, all three forms make up the total phosphorus in a phosphatic fertilizer. And there is one more term, unavailable phosphorus. It is citrate insoluble phosphorus. Now see in detail what is water soluble fertilizer. The definition is given by AOAC 1960. A small sample of fertilizer is extracted with distilled water for a prescribed period and the slurry is then filtered. The amount of phosphorus in filtrate is determined and expressed as a percentage by weight of the fertilizer. The above fraction is called as water soluble phosphorus. Students must remember it very carefully. It is very important aspect and questions are asked on this aspect. And then examples of water soluble phosphorus are monocalcium phosphate, CaH2PO4 twice, and single superphosphate and triple superphosphate are the example of monocalcium phosphate. Then monoammonium phosphate is also water soluble, NH4H2PO4. Diammonium phosphate, DAP, NH4 twice, HPO4. This is the most common phosphatic fertilizer in the country. Potassium phosphate is another fertilizer which is water soluble, KH2PO4. Now see citrate soluble phosphate or phosphatic fertilizers. The fertilizer residue left after extracting water soluble P with a neutral pH 7 solution of 1 normal ammonium citrate for a prescribed period, AOAC 1960, and slurry and then filtered. So the P content in the filtrate is then determined and expressed as percentage by weight of the fertilizer. The above fraction is called as citrate soluble phosphorus. Means phosphorus left after the extracting the water soluble fertilizer that is extracted again with citric acid or ammonium citrate. The above fraction is called as citrate soluble phosphorus. Examples are dicalcium phosphate, CaHPO4, and it has 26% phosphorus, basic slag, byproduct of steel industry, and calcium metaphosphate. So these are three examples of citrate soluble phosphatic fertilizers. Now citrate insoluble phosphatic fertilizers. The P content in residue left after extracting citrate soluble P, unavailable to plants. It cannot be taken up by the plants, and rock phosphate is the example of citrate insoluble phosphorus. Rock phosphate, bone meal are the examples, and water and citrate soluble phosphorus are available to the plants. Now see examples of certain fertilizers, how they are manufactured and what is the phosphorus content and other nutrients content in these fertilizers. So we start with ordinary superphosphate. It is also called as SSP, single superphosphate, and it is formed or manufactured by reacting phosphate rock with sulfuric acid. And it has 16 to 22% P2O5 and about 90% is water soluble and also contain 11 to 12% sulfur. So this is the added advantage of single superphosphate. But due to some reason, consumption of single superphosphate has declined in the country compared to DAP. Diammonium phosphate consumption is slowly increasing. Means more and more phosphorus in India is coming from DAP, and now less and less is coming from single superphosphate. So that is perhaps not the good sign, because single superphosphate also supplies sulfur in addition to phosphorus. So there could be much balanced supply from single superphosphate than from DAP. And main reason was adulteration of single superphosphate by some people or by some middlemen in the market, and because of which farmers left interest in single superphosphate. Now they prefer DAP. Next is concentrated superphosphate, concentrated triple superphosphate, and it is prepared by reacting phosphate rock with phosphoric acid. Remember, in this case phosphate rock is reacted with phosphoric acid, and to produce single superphosphate you react sulfuric acid on phosphate rock. So it contains 44 to 52% P2O5, which is much rich than single superphosphate, almost 3 times more phosphorus in TSP, triple superphosphate, and all phosphorus present is water soluble. But anyhow, its production is not very large, consumption is also very low. Then enriched superphosphates. Phosphate rock is reacted with mixture of sulfuric acid and phosphoric acid to produce enriched superphosphate. So 25 to 30% P2O5 and 90 to 95% is water soluble. So these enriched superphosphates are quite in demand in some European countries or America. Now see ammonium phosphates, they are also very common in US. So ammonia is reacted with phosphoric acid to produce ammonium phosphates. For example, monoammonium phosphate MAP 11 to 48 means 11% nitrogen, 48% phosphorus or P2O5. It has got another grade also 1155, 11% nitrogen and 55% P2O5. And DAP, I think most of you understand DAP, 1648. One grade is 1648, 16% nitrogen and 48% P2O5. And another grade is 1846, which is perhaps more common, 18% nitrogen and 46% P2O5 in DAP. Now next fertilizer is nitric or nitrophosphates. So nitrophosphates are produced by reacting nitric acid on phosphate rock, and the nitrogen is to P2O5 ratio of material ranges from 1:1 to 1:3. That is why percentage of phosphorus will vary in these kind of fertilizers. So lower degree of water soluble phosphorus compared to SSP, MAP or DAP, it has 0 to 80% water soluble phosphorus. Now ammonium polyphosphates, developed by Tennessee Valley Authority TVA in USA, and they got patent also for this by ammoniation of mixture of electric furnace superphosphoric acid and up to 30% of the phosphorus as wet process orthophosphoric acid. This process results in a granular product with a grade of 1562. 1562 means nitrogen and P2O5 ratio is 1562. So both liquid and solid ammonium polyphosphates are available. Now see how these ammonium polyphosphate release phosphorus in the soil. So these polyphosphates, upon hydrolysis, enzyme is pyrophosphatase and it is converted to orthophosphates, which are available. So soil factor that may affect hydrolysis of ammonium polyphosphate are pH, temperature, soil texture and water content. Greater hydrolysis on acidic than on alkaline soils. Hydrolysis increases with a rise in temperature and more hydrolysis on flooding. The next important fertilizer is partially acidulated rock phosphate. The initial P availability of low reactivity phosphates rocks can be significantly improved by treatment with only 10 to 20% of the usual quantity of phosphoric acid S3PO3 necessary for the manufacture of triple superphosphate. To produce a comparable material by acidulation with sulfuric acid, it takes 40 to 50% of the amount normally consumed in the manufacture of SSP. Means partially acidulated rock phosphate can be prepared either by using sulfuric acid S2SO4 or orthophosphoric acid S3PO3. On a highly acidic and high P fixing dark red latosol, oxysols, it was a good source as good as TSP or triple superphosphate for rice and beans. It has been reported from Brazil by Figueira and co-workers in 1991. Phosphate rock in its natural state is of only limited value to plants unless extremely finely ground to at least 90% passing through 100 mesh screen. Therefore, rock phosphate was acidulated. So most of the phosphorus in this is in apatite. So that is unavailable. It contains, this rock phosphate contains about 11 to 16% P, which is 25 to 37% of P2O5. Most of the phosphorus is in apatite form and thus there is no water soluble P. Citrate solubility can vary from 5 to 17% of the total P, depending upon the nature of the rock and the degree of which it is ground. Direct application of finely ground or powdered rock phosphate is recommended for acidic soils. Soils having pH less than 6, in those soils rock phosphate can be directly applied and there is no need for acidulation with sulfuric acid or phosphoric acid. Must be thoroughly mixed into the soil and often necessary to apply quantities containing 3 to 5 times the P equivalent normally provided in conventional water soluble fertilizer. Environmental conditions such as warm climates, moist soils and long growing seasons will increase its effectiveness. Factors limiting the use of rock phosphate include uncertain agronomic value, inconvenience of handling and applying of the fine dusty material and relatively low P content compared to TSP or ammonium phosphate. Because in India we need to import rock phosphate also, and it is in bulk, and then you need to process it here in India. So therefore people prefer to import directly phosphoric acid produced in Morocco or produced in some African countries or maybe in Gulf countries. So we like to import just phosphoric acid. Why to import bulk of the things? Now, efficient phosphate management. You have seen in the beginning I told you that phosphorus recovery is roughly 20%, means 80% of the phosphorus remain unused in the soil. So there may be cases where excess phosphorus has been accumulated. In some parts of Punjab, Haryana and western UP, there is some accumulation of phosphate in the soil. So how best we can use this native phosphorus, how best we can use when we apply phosphatic fertilizer, such thing will make phosphorus use efficiency more. So let us see how to make phosphorus management so as to increase the efficiency of phosphorus. So there are 3 different strategies suggested by different people. Number 1 is strategies for efficient utilization of native P, means whatever P is there in the soil, how best we can improve its efficiency. Then strategies for efficient utilization of fertilizer P. Sometimes recommended fertilizers are applied and how best we can improve their efficiency. And third one is strategies for the direct use of rock phosphate. So these 3 strategies now we discuss in detail. So strategies for efficient utilization of native phosphorus, use of phosphorus efficient crops and their cultivar. This is one. Next is use of arbuscular mycorrhiza and use of phosphobacterium. So these are the 3 components that can increase the availability of the native phosphorus. Use of P efficient crops and cultivars. So crops and cultivars within crop species differ in their abilities to survive, grow and produce at low levels of available phosphorus, mainly due to differences in roots. So what happens under each plant type? There are certain cultivars or varieties that have some special affinity or special root system to absorb phosphorus even under deficient conditions. Such kind of genotypes or varieties or cultivars are known as phosphorus use efficient cultivars. So such kind of selected cultivars can be used, or even species can be used. Generally you have dicots as the more efficient user of phosphorus compared to monocots. So better to keep certain dicots in the crop rotation so that P use efficiency can be improved for the local phosphorus. Plants having deeper and extensive root system can feed better on native soil phosphorus, and cultivars of crop that produce well under a low level of P and respond well to added phosphorus are most desirable. And there may be of course certain practices like addition of organic manure, growing of green manure crops, adoption of crop rotations which can change the soil properties, and they will lead to the improved soil health and improved phosphorus uptake. Now arbuscular mycorrhiza, AM fungi, are quite important in solubilization and mobilization of phosphorus, particularly native phosphorus. So they increases root extraction of phosphorus by the increased physical exploration of soil, chemical modification of soil, physiological difference between AM fungi and plant roots. So there are many ways by which AM fungi can help plants to get more phosphorus. For example, they increase the absorptive surface area of the roots, means more area for absorption, more the finer, the hypha of the mycorrhiza are finer than the root hair, and so they can reach to the places where root hairs or root cannot reach. So from those kind of places, it can bring mobilized phosphorus to the plant roots, and there may be some physiological differences also. So therefore, uptake efficiency of phosphorus can be increased by using mycorrhiza. Extensive hyphal growth of AM fungi reduces the distance for diffusion of phosphorus in soil and thereby increases phosphorus uptake by plants. Greater absorptive surface area of hyphae enables their entry into the soil pores and organic matter that cannot be entered by the root hair. AM fungi chemically modify the rhizosphere through the exudation of chelating compounds or phosphates, phosphatases, enzymes which help in solubilizing the slowly available phosphorus. So these kind of organisms increase the availability of the native phosphorus. Use of phosphobacterium. Bacterium Bacillus megatherium variety phosphaticum, called a biofertilizer, was first used in USSR, now it is Russia, some other Russian Federation, for increasing the availability of the native soil phosphorus. Sobius called them phosphobacterians, credited for mineralizing organic phosphorus in soil. So this phosphaticum species is still used as a culture, biofertilizer, to increase phosphorus availability. So in about 50% of the crops inoculated with bacteria, yield increases of the order of 1 to 20% were obtained in Sobius soils. A positive response is also reported from India. There is need to identify the soil and climatic conditions under which phosphobacterium can function efficiently. Now, strategies for efficient utilization of fertilizer P. If you are using fertilizer, how can we increase its efficiency? Deep placement near the growing young roots because of its faster reactivity and hence slow movement in soil. Foliar fertilization can be done, DAP can be sprayed. A rule of thumb is that for row sown crops, phosphorus must be placed. The wider the row spacing, the greater the advantage of phosphorus placement. Only for those crops that are sown broadcast, incorporation in soil may be as good as deep placement. By bending, it comes into less direct contact with soil, reducing the opportunity for fixation of soluble phosphorus. Using larger fertilizer phosphorus particle, which are subject to less fixation, is sometimes more effective than using finely ground phosphatic fertilizers. Dipping the rice seedlings before transplanting in slurry of soil and P fertilizer can increase the efficiency of fertilizer P and economize on phosphorus use. In multiple cropping system, the recommendation is to give priority to those crops that are more responsive to phosphorus, like wheat and potato, as compared with crops that can benefit from residual phosphorus. In case of rice wheat system, in some places there was a recommendation that if you apply phosphorus on cropping system basis, then it should be applied to wheat only, it should not be applied to rice. But in case of zinc, zinc should be applied to rice and it should not be applied to wheat. So such kind of recommendations are there to improve efficiency of fertilizers. Now, balanced fertilization can also improve phosphorus use efficiency because balanced nutrition is a must for realization of the full phosphorus response potential of crops. Insufficient level of other nutrients can substantially reduce response to phosphorus. For example, a study showed that response of irrigation corn to phosphorus continually increased with increasing nitrogen rate. So nitrogen and phosphorus have synergistic effect. Similarly, there are certain strategies for the direct use of rock phosphate. So in acidic soils, it can be directly applied, and also doses are several times higher than the water soluble P fertilizer. Mixing of rock phosphate can be done with water soluble phosphatic fertilizer, and use of PSB can be employed. Phosphate solubilizing organisms or microorganism can be employed to solubilize the rock phosphate, and combining nitrogen fertilizer with rock phosphate by bending, granulating, composting with animal manure or organic manure can also improve phosphorus use efficiency of fertilizers, and including fine rooted legumes in rotation to generate a low pH rhizosphere with low calcium concentration. So I think these phosphatic fertilizers are very, very important. We can increase their efficiency. Efficiency of native fertilizer should be increased, and also rock phosphate, certain strategies are there by which we can improve its efficiency. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you very much.